Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. We are here to discuss Star Trek Discovery, Season 3, Episode 11. I'm here with Emmett, as always.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Hope you've had a good one.
Yeah, I hope you've had a good one. Sorry for the slightly late upload. Usually it's up on a Saturday. It's going to be up on a Sunday this week because of Christmas. I just decided that I would have preferred to just hang around my family for an extra day. So if that meant
Crazy, I know.
crazy, very crazy. So if that kept you, if it was a major hindrance on your life, I'm sure it wasn't. But if it was, I apologize about that. But let's get right into it. So this episode, I'm going to go out there and say, this was my favorite episode of the season so far.
Interesting, very nice. No, I did enjoy this episode. I am curious because it's such a setup for the finale of the show or the season, sorry, rather. So I'm very interested to see how the rest of it plays out. But there was definitely some very interesting moments in this episode that I find quite engaging. So I'm sure we're going to get into it, obviously.
Yeah, we'll get into it. But there's so much stuff. I don't know why. I just was like, this is so cool. I love the idea of them changing bodies. Actually, first question I have for you: when they went to the planet into the program, and then they changed the body. That's my phone. Apologize about that. And then they changed bodies. They all changed into different races. So Saru became a human, which was cool to see Doug Jones' face.
Yes.
And then Michael Burnham turned into Trill.
Yeah.
Who did Hugh Colbert change into? What race?
He changed into a Bajoran, which was there's a species that have been around since Next Generation. But
the visual of it was very similar. Very reminiscent to me. I'd seen it before.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, no, you've definitely probably seen it before, at least because so basically the Bajorans were a planet that was under the boot of the Cardassian. Not Kim Kardashian, obviously, Empire, and they were introduced in Next Generation, and they played a huge part in Deep Space Nine, as the space station in Deep Space Nine was positioned right next to what it was later referred to as the Bajoran wormhole, which led into the Gamma Quadrant and led a lot of the sort of conflicts for that show. So the Bajorans had been a big part in Star Trek before. They have been a very prevalent race for a while.
Okay, that's awesome. That answers the question. What did you think about seeing Doug Jones in all his glory?
Well, the moment that Michael and Hugh were like, "You're a Trill, you're a Bajoran," I'm like, Doug Jones is just going to be Doug Jones.
Yeah, I knew that was happening. I knew that was coming too. And but the way he even still walked like him, and he
does his little swishes when he moves and stuff like that. I love that.
I actually thought, funny enough, it took me about a minute or so to just hear Saru's voice again, even though he's doing the exact same voice. When it took me about a minute to actually hear the same voice, if you know what I mean, because it's coming from a human now. I thought to myself, oh, it's slightly different, but actually it wasn't different at all. It was just so interesting seeing Doc Jones as himself, because we know that he hardly ever is himself in stuff.
Yeah, with most, because in a lot of Star Trek shows, when you have one of the actors who are in heavy makeup and stuff, you'll often get maybe an episode or two when they're out of that makeup for a bit. Which I imagine is very relieving for the actor.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely, because a lot of shows will do that sort of situation. Not Star Trek necessarily, but a lot of shows will do that where they'll have a character in heavy makeup and then find any excuse to take them out of the heavy makeup. Yeah. But with Doug Jones, because he so often doesn't get to appear just as Doug Jones, I'm totally cool with it, because I'm like, let the man show his face every now and again,
It completely fit into the storyline, and it didn't feel forced to me. The whole thing didn't feel like, let's get Doug Jones's face in this. It did really feel to me like it serviced the storyline.
Yeah, well, the whole planet is kind of so there's a couple of common episode typings in Star Trek that get reused a lot. There's the transporter accident, and then there's the a weird thing gets unleashed on the ship, like an infection or something like that. And then there's a holodeck episode where something goes wrong with the holodeck, and people are either trapped in it or things from the holodeck start coming out of the holodeck. But so this episode felt like a big a planet-sized version of that, because this whole planet is basically a holo program that's running for the baby.
What did you think of that storyline? What did you think of that storyline that this baby, well, now probably a 50 or 60-year-old Kelpian, is, actually 120-year-old Kelpian. I don't really know. I'd imagine, because this is in a program, the Kelpian actually is not really moving around and stuff. I'd imagine they're actually in like a coma somewhere. That's what I would think.
Yeah,
But
I'm not
how else are they
necessarily.
keeping them alive for so long? Maybe just like breathable medicines
They,
and stuff.
they sort of hand waved it, saying like medical technology and stuff like that. And I'm like, all right, sure, I'll roll with it. I'll roll with it. He was a baby, and now he's an adult of some kind, but running around still with quite a child mind. It was an interesting little reveal. Again, I don't want to say anything because again, we're still only on the first part of the story, so I definitely don't want to say one way or the other how I feel about it. It was definitely an interesting reveal in that sense.
He caused the burn.
Apparently,
It is interesting. Like, I honestly thought the burn was going to be caused by something to do with our characters traveling through time.
Yeah, it feels, unless they're going to reveal more, it feels a bit strange that this is just the result of the burn. I thought it was going to have more like of a thematic tie into everything that was going on. Though, the Kelpian boy does seem to tie very heavily into the theme of family that we've had going on through the season. Because, Saru, being in the future, he hasn't seen other Kelpians. He hasn't really known what their situation is. So you could see the way that he interacts with the old man projection and listens to the stories and is so worried about the safety of the other Kelpian. Like, it's affecting him in that way. But I would agree with you. It was a bit weird. I thought it was going to be tied more into the, traveling from the past. Maybe we'll find out more and it will tie in later. But it does make you wonder, like, if taking the Kelpian child off the planet is going to fix the burn problem, or
take it elsewhere,
or if they're going to have to like Old Yeller, this guy, and I'm like, because Michael keeps on being like, Saru's emotionally compromised. He might not be able to do what we need to do.
Yeah,
and I'm like, Michael, are you gonna kill this kid?
Yeah,
you gonna kill this guy?
Probably. Let's be honest.
Michael has no chill. She's just ready to go all the time.
Yeah, exactly. But having said that, though, like you're talking about the old Kelpian there, the storyteller.
Yeah.
Now, I find this very interesting, this plot point, because how does Saru know of old storytellers whenever his experience of being a Kelpian was that they all got killed at Vahari. So obviously he said he'd never seen one that old. So maybe that's tales from his... That makes sense if they're just tales from his people. But at the same time, it's like, you shouldn't even been able to conceive of this.
Yeah. Well, I suppose, elderly is a subjective term. When you're a child and you think anyone over 30 is old, and we're rapidly approaching that period ourselves.
Well, I'm 3 weeks away from that. Yeah,
3 weeks away from it. 2 years away from it. Not to show my age, obviously, but so like I guess it's like they did like in the same way with the medical technology line, they did sort of hand wave it very quickly, being like, "Oh, I've never seen one this old." So I guess it was like, from his perspective, it was just like Kelpians who made it to an older age before the
Vahari. It must have been like in his mind, the elders that they talked about would have been like 30, but actually, in fact, he didn't really see them. So this is what they're supposed to be in their true form before they started getting culled. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I think by his species standards, because he has been like one of the first to survive the Vahari, like Saru's probably an elder.
Yeah.
Like if we were back in the original time period of the show, so.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's how I didn't dislike it. I also love the design of the Elder Kelpian. I thought it looked really cool. Okay, so what did we think about Tilly's first time in the chair? She was in charge this time.
Oh God, poor Tilly. Poor Tilly. It was a tough old first day in the captain's chair. Not often you get put in those sorts of situations. The first time you put on the chair, sit in the chair, whatever.
Put on the hat. The captain's
Put on the hat. Put on the captain's hat, sit in the captain's chair, do the captain's jig. I like that we've seen with her and Michael talking before, where Michael shared a little like nervous tick that Giorgio had that like she picked up, and then like Tilly, you see Tilly doing it a bit,
Yeah, it
during
was
the
like
episode.
a little screw under there.
Yeah, like where they would like feel it and
Mm.
stuff like that. Like that's nice. That's a very human
Yeah.
thing to do. I like that. That was good. I would say that like Osira, again, I'm still not necessarily very intimidated with Osira. So the fact that it was her and Tilly squaring up against each other, I feel like that's the only person that really could have been. She could have been a threat to, if
Yeah.
you know what I mean. We're check out our Expanse videos. We're going to be talking about it, but like, she's no Marco. We'll say that in the sense of like, she supposedly is this the queen of this little empire that's a threat to the Federation.
Yeah, yeah.
Yet I think we've seen like maybe a few ships of hers, and like even her big flagship ship was easily taken down by that small cruiser.
Books, yeah.
We had another hand wave sort of statement of there were some design flaws that we have now
Yeah.
fixed, and I'm like,
Very Death
all
Star
right,
style, yeah.
yeah, very desperate, and we all seen how that turned out before,
Yeah.
So like again, I feel like Tilly was the only person Osira could have actually been much of a threat to.
Mm-hmm.
So it was cool seeing them score up against each other.
Yeah, I did enjoy Tilly, like, quoting Freud and like pointing out that you're projecting upon me. Like, I thought that was really interesting. And then like, I think it still is a bit strange to me, like them like going down and saying, "Ensign Tilly, you have command." It's like they still use the title ensign, even though she's technically like she's number one now. It's weird.
Yeah.
That whole situation.
Why has she not got a promotion yet? Like, just give her like the promotion to the next rank up.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like a big promotion, just from ensign to lieutenant.
Yeah.
It's a nice, easy transition. She's done a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
She deserves a promotion.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. But no, and it was also, Tilly's lack of experience did sort of bite him in the backside a bit, in the sense of like, she didn't want to abandon the crew on
the away crew, but then she decided to, at the end, which
she decided too late.
That indecision,
point,
that indecision cost big time. So it's going to be interesting to see where that goes. One of the last things I wanted to speak about was the fact that Adira is going down to the planet. So that means that they are going to change race. My mind goes that perhaps Adira is going to change to Trill, and therefore gain a greater understanding of the symbiote inside her, inside them. Sorry, as well as form more of a connection to Grey as well. Even though they're already.
I am also going to make a prediction that might turn out to be completely incorrect. I think when they get down to the planet, Grey is going to get a hollow body that everyone is going to be able to see.
Oh, that's cool.
I think that's where it's going, because obviously Grey's been having difficulty with the fact that no one else can see them.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to happen there, because I think that would be sort of a good way of sort of playing with that. And yeah, I could see them ending up as Trill. Obviously, Saru sort of was like, when he was walking, he's like, my heels are touching the ground. So like, there does seem to be some sort of physical change to them.
That's true.
If they do, apologies again. If they do end up changing into a Trill, it could have biological implications while they're on the planet. So interested to see where that goes.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see that storyline, to be honest with you. Yeah. I think there's 2 or 3 storylines going on at the minute, which are going to culminate at the end of the season. Adira's one is definitely one of the sort of subplots that is going to, come to fruition. I hope that Grey sort of sticks around and has a more permanent role within Adira's sort of mind, I suppose you could say. I would hate for those 2 characters to be severed in a way. I don't think they'll be severed because obviously the symbiote's there, but like we saw Grey hiding himself away from Adira. Yeah. I'd like it to end up that doesn't really happen, but it's interesting to see.
I think it's so obviously they've made it into like a storyline, but I think it is very much a result of Discovery's method of storytelling, where you'll just have episodes where certain characters just won't appear, and they maybe can't have the full cast. And I think Grey, unfortunately, has been a victim of that to a certain extent. Hasn't been able to appear as much, which is a shame. I think his actor is very charismatic, and I honestly would be very good to have around a bit more, just because they bring a little bit more life into scenes, which is great. But we'll have to see. Maybe again, if there's a big push for it, we'll see more of Grey in the next season, which I think they're getting. I haven't double checked.
Yeah, I believe they are getting. Yeah, so I'd be really up for that as well. Right, guys, well, that's Star Trek episode 11 of season 3. We have 2 episodes away from the end of the season, so great to see how these storylines all come together. Well, Emmett, you have in 10 seconds sum up this episode for me. Not sum up your thoughts.
Sure. Don't put an ensign in the captain's chair.
All right, I think that sums it up really well. Right, guys.
I'm joking, obviously, but I'm excited for the finale.
Yeah, and I'll just say, Emmett, before we get off here, it's good to have you back. Ema tried her best last week, but
she did wonderfully.
Yeah, she gave me a clickbaity title, and that's all I needed. All right, see you later, guys. See you next week.